welcome to our session today. I'd like to turn it over to Judy. Judy?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Roger. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you the distinguished guests of our panel today. This is the second part of the HIMAP Enhanced Community Quarantine discussion. And there's lots of insights, new regulations, updates with regards to operations, HR operations, as well as different logistics. So as Roger mentioned, we invited the other associations like ACP, PSIA, of course the IBPAP. I think Celeste is representing the board of IBPAP. We also invited American Chamber as well as the NICP and the other ICT Council's representatives. So we would like to acknowledge all our members of HIMAP as well as the non-members of representing the different companies and industries. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the distinguished guests of panelists. These are the hardworking and committed members of LegComs, beautiful lady lawyers and gentlemen of IBPAP LegCom. Thank you very much for accepting our request for you to be part of this discussion. So I would like to introduce first Attorney Liline Lamorena Budi. She's the Philippine Legal Head of Cognizant. She's also a very active member of the HIMAP Membership Committee as well as Legislative Committee of IBPAP. Thank you very much, Attorney Lin, for accepting our invite to you. I would like also introduce to you Attorney Princess Escalon. She is the Government Regulatory Affairs Executive of IBM Philippines and Asia Pacific Market Support. One of the lady lawyers in LegCom who are, I think they're not sleeping. All our LegCom committee have been actively communicating and chatting over our Viber chat room. So of course, Attorney Ken Achua, a partner of Kisumbing Torres, who's in charge on the Employment Practice Group Head. So thank you very much, Attorney Chua, for joining us, and thank you also for providing your insights and answering some of the questions of the HIMAP members. And aside from Attorney Chua, another gentleman who's very active in providing us all the new updates and regulation, our Executive Director for External Affairs and Investor Relations of IBPAP, Nikki Agkawili. So without further ado, I would like to turn over this floor to our very own Raymond Ang, who will be the moderator during the panel. He's our HIMAP, one of the HIMAP board member and secretary. So Raymond.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. Thank you, panel, for joining in on our discussions this afternoon. And special thanks to your continuous non-stop updates on a list of unanswered questions, even as we speak. We're allotted 17 minutes for this portion, so in turn, we'll set aside a maximum of 3 minutes for each panelist. And if there's time, we can redirect a couple of follow-up questions. Hope this would work out for everyone. Hi, Nikki. In the interest of time, can we get you to jump in first on a brief situationer on where our industry is at the present time, i.e. day 10 of the ECQ. If you can also include to what extent has the WFH arrangements together with the maintenance of skeletal force helped our industry. Thank you. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Raymond. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Bang, Roger, and Judy for having me again. I know we had a similar update last week. And Friday as of last week, we weren't aware if we were truly going to be given an extension in terms of enabling or expanding our work from home capabilities. So to answer your question, Raymond, I think it's been very helpful that we were given that extension. I think these past few days there was a lot of anxiousness in terms of just how the accommodations are going to be managed. So there's been a lot of back and forth discussions with different government agencies. Also very pleased to have gotten support from both DOH and the Department of Tourism in terms of clarifying the single occupancy requirement. To date, I think it's across the board. It's not just contact centers, even ours across the board in all subsectors. We're seeing just heightened monitoring in terms of the checkpoints. We're still, going back and forth in the DTI, BOI chat line, just making sure that not only are employees covered in terms of the checkpoints. I'm not sure if everyone can hear me. There's that background
You're
noise.
coming in okay. Go ahead.
Okay,
Nikki.
perfect. Thank you. So yeah, that said, and I think I need to go back to the point we highlighted last week. While all of these items are being monitored, it's also equally important for us to ensure that we do touch points or checkpoints in terms of employee morale. We reviewed the questions or the unanswered questions to date, and a lot of it operationally still relates to employee benefits. I know most of which were answered by Attorney KC, Attorney Princess, and Attorney Lin. But I think more than that is how do we also leverage the community quarantine in terms of talent development and talent attraction. So I know that's a mouthful, Raymond. I'll pause and turn the floor over back to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Nikki. Okay, Attorney Kenneth, good afternoon. I've got two questions for you. We are told that the general rule covering compensation of folks whose work has been suspended involves charging the no work days to leave credits. And if the leave credits are exhausted, the no work days may be considered leaves without pay. Then the employer may apply for benefits provided for under HIMAP. What companies that are partially WFH enabled at say 30% and are maintaining a skeletal force of 10%, to what extent will these companies be legally obliged to compensate the remaining 60% of our workforce, including non-production workers and utility personnel? Will the same compensation treatment apply? Secondly, are grants or stimulus packages that private companies may avail of from government to weather out this present crisis? I understand from Attorney Lin that Pag-ibig for One has recently rolled out an advisory on applications for calamity loan program. Are there others that may have come to your attention? Thank you, Attorney. Attorney Kenneth? Hello?
You hear me?
Attorney Kenneth, are you there? Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello,
I can hear you now.
me?
Yes, go ahead. Is that Attorney Kenneth?
Yes, this is Kenneth. Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Kenneth.
Yeah. With respect to the question on the employees who will not be able to do work from home and would have to stay home because of the quarantine, then under the guidelines that the Department of Labor has issued, their absences or their no work days can be charged to vacation leave credits if there are any. And once the vacation leave credits are exhausted, then the no work days can be charged as leaves without pay. Having said that, though, the government has also requested employers, if it is possible, to continue paying these employees who are not working so that they do not suffer any reduction in pay. But if the employers are not able to provide any payment to these employees, then that's where the CAMP will come in. So under the CAMP, for the employees to avail of this benefit, then their employers have to submit the establishment report for COVID-19 through email with the Department of Labor, and to submit the payroll information of these employees also through email. The Department of Labor has said that they will prioritize in the provision of the financial assistance, which incidentally is 5,000 pesos, for employees of the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Okay, that's for the first question.
Okay.
For the second question, Raymond, can you repeat it, please?
Yes. I was saying that if there are any grants or stimulus packages that private companies may avail of from government, not to weather out this present crisis. And I was saying that I understand from Attorney Lin that PAG-IBIC, for one, has recently rolled out an advisory on applications for calamity loan program. So I was thinking if there are any others that you may have come into play and come to your attention.
Yeah. In terms of support to businesses, I'm not aware of any financial support that the government is extending directly to businesses. What I have seen, though, is basically financial support extended to employees or workers themselves. And as Attorney Lin mentioned, then there's PAG-IBIC that's offering calamity loans. I haven't seen, though, what support that the SSS or PhilHealth might extend. What I have seen is that the Employees Compensation Commission has announced that the illness, the COVID-19 illness, anyone infected of COVID-19 due to work may be able to avail of employees' compensation or workmen's compensation.
Okay.
Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you so much, Attorney. Yes. So we move on to Attorney Lin. Good afternoon, Attorney. I've got two questions as well for you. To the question of will employers be penalized by government agencies like SSS, PHIC, HDMF, and BIR for non-filing or non-remittance requirements over the duration of the ECQ period. Thank you to you and Nikki for sharing a copy of the SGV's matrix of deadline extensions, which will be circulated to our membership. But if you don't mind, please provide us with just a high-level comment on this. Secondly, since a number of BPO's delivery operations include voice-related processes, based on feedback, are they finding it more challenging to pivot to WFH arrangements due to, say, higher bandwidth or other protocol requirements as compared to non-voice processes like in software development? Attorney Lin, go ahead.
Okay, I think that the second question would mostly be operational. But to the first one, the government, not just the Office of President, but the other government-owned companies are very open in extending or offering extension on all regulatory and reportorial requirements supposed to be complied by the private sector, and that is prevalent in all their advisories. As to the second question, the past 2 weeks have been a frenzy for us, and to this point, we're still at the stage of stabilizing the operational requirements, especially for IT assets. So yes, so that's it for now.
Okay, IT assets. Okay, sure. All right. We probably will direct the next set of questions to Attorney Princess, no, and then perhaps get back into the loop, with some follow-up questions, if any. So, Attorney Princess, LegCom has been tirelessly in negotiations with government, especially during this time of crisis. And for that, we thank you once again for all that you've done and all that you're doing for the industry. Just wanted to find out if there are efforts being made to talk to real estate developers, including PEZA, for possible reduction of rent over the duration of the ECQ and in the light of the seeming protraction beyond mid-April. Further, are there plans to request government to extend the WFH arrangements involving the movement of PCs and laptops beyond the March 22 timeframe? Attorney, Princess, go ahead.
Thank you for the question. So I'll answer the second question first regarding the transport of laptops to arrange for work from home arrangements. So unfortunately, the window has passed for us to make arrangements for work from home. Our deadline was midnight of March 26. That said, I know, and Nikki can correct me on this, because Nikki has been, IBPAP has been the one liaising with PEZA. So PEZA has released guidelines that, transport of IT equipment is considered, a part of the unhampered flow of goods. And so we're trying to get clarity whether that means that, we can still transport using our accredited couriers IT equipment, including laptops, to the offices or to the homes of our employees when necessary. So that's the second question. For the first question, we have been negotiating with landlords. I'm not sure if PEZA has been doing that on our behalf, but we have been, negotiating independently, with the landlords for a reduction of rent during the ECQ. So I guess, again, this can be something that the industry can take up jointly instead of, individual companies trying to negotiate with the landlords. So maybe Nikki can chime in as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Princess. And yeah, Raymond, I was just going to say, the question on real estate comes in very timely because we've been getting a lot of similar requests coming from not just member companies. So to answer that question, to date, where we're at is there are independent measures being taken, just like what Princess has shared. So there are ongoing discussions with different developers, different companies on lease reprievals. However, we also should be able, similar to what we worked on with the telcos, early this morning, Ray and I covered that we will look into, and we're hopeful, again, but we're always pragmatic of our requests to make a similar one for the lease reprieval option in light of the ECQ. Where we stand on that date, it's ongoing discussions. I know we're going to table it with our board. So Ms. Beng, you're hopefully going to hear from us, if not end of the week, first thing next week, and we'll continue to keep you posted. And on the other point that Princess made, so there's different ways of approaching delivery of laptops to date, no? But what we know is, of course, enablement has ended March 22nd. What's been clarified to date, at least by DTI, is if there are laptops pending that need to be delivered to employees that are at home, we can utilize transport services such as DHL, FedEx, and Lalamove, etc. No? Are there other efforts ongoing? I know, Raymond, you mentioned we also have reached out to DICT to request for a potential extension. That's on the table, and hopefully it may. We heard that there is an IATF meeting today. As we always share with member companies, we're always hopeful, but let's always prepare and plan for the worst if we're not given the extension. So I hope that answers a couple of the other questions, Raymond. I'll turn the floor over back to you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Yes, Attorney Kenneth, would you like to add comments? Over the discussions that we've had so far.
Yeah. Thank you, Raymond. Yeah, I think the biggest issue for some of our clients is that they have been also unable to fully deliver all the computers that are needed for the work from home arrangement. So to echo what Nikki mentioned, we have also suggested the use of Lala Move and other courier services, and we look forward that the IATF will, will give us the go signal or an additional time if possible to do this. Thank you, Raymond.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Attorney. Let's turn this discussion to Attorney Lin. I'm sure that you may want to add, certain feedback or inputs to the discussions we've had so far as well.
Yeah, Raymond. I think that while all of this work from home enablement is still being stabilized, just a gentle reminder to all our members and the rest of the associations to likewise look into the regulatory compliance requirements on reportorial requirements specifically. PEZA has one. DOLE already cascaded requirements as well for reporting work from home and other flexible work arrangement that the companies have put in place to them. So please be mindful of the periods for reporting. And to these, make sure that you have a work from home policy in place, because this would also likewise be anchored on in cases of grievances that would surely be coming in as part of the work from home arrangement with the employees. So that's it from my end.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Princess. Let's Attorney Lin, I'm sorry. So we're circling back now to our last panelist, Attorney Princess. No, but before we do that, I'm seeing a lot of notes, coming in that there are questions to the panelists from our participants. No, so I will open the floor to two questions. No, after the comment. No, after we hear from Attorney Princess. Attorney, go ahead.
Thank you, Raymond. So in addition to the question for Attorney Lin earlier around statutory, the penalties that can be imposed. So I know that in addition to Pag-ibig extending the loan, so PhilHealth has also extended the deadline for payment of contributions for the first quarter until April 30th. And SSS, I just got word that they had a board meeting last March 25, and they're going to release a circular by next week extending the payment of contributions as well for the first quarter, or for the month of March to April. So we'll just look out for that and share it with the members once we have it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. You've been very helpful, the three attorneys, no, in terms of providing all the answers. And I think our membership will be surprised later to get full-blown list of answers, to the questions that have been unanswered for the last week. Thank you so much for all your help. Now, turning to the participants. Now, are there questions to our panelists? I can take in two because I've seen a lot, coming into my screen. Any questions from the participant? The floor is open to two questions. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Raymond. This is Judy. One of the participants' question is in relation to the if a company is giving 50% of the salaries of workers but not able to work from home, are they still eligible to CAMP or CAMP?
Okay, so attorneys, which of you, who of you may want to tackle that, please? Thank you. Attorney Kenneth.
Yeah, hi. I'll try to respond to the question. Judy, did you say that the employees continue to receive their salary even if they're not working?
Yes, 50% of the salary is being given by the employer.
Yeah. So if my understanding is if the employees suffer a reduction in pay, so in this case, the employee is receiving only 50%, I think he may be able also to still avail of CAMP at the end of the day, the camp is requires the approval of the DOLE. So it perhaps doesn't hurt for the employers to just submit the report together with the payroll and then leave it to DOLE to approve or disapprove the payment.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney.
Attorney, Judy, just 1 second. No, I understand that there are talks about camp being given to smaller companies, not the big companies. No, have you heard anything to that effect? Because I heard some comments and feedback just a while ago.
You're right, Raymond. In fact, the DOLE regulation on camp provides that they're encouraging large establishments to continue paying the salary, so that hopefully these employees will no longer apply for camp and in a way help the government. Having said that, though, in at least one forum, a forum that I attended yesterday by the Personal Management Association of the Philippines, the DOLE stated that even large companies, employees of large companies may be eligible for camp, although their trust really is to help the employees of the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So it would seem the message that they are sending is that to the extent that private sectors can help, because the funds for camp is limited, so to the extent that private sector can help, then they would appreciate it. But if not, then even employees of large companies may avail of camp.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So Judy, we have one more question we can take in from the participants. Can you chime in?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Sam White from Ingram Micro, would you like to ask a question? There's a question here from Sam. Sam?
Can you hear me, Judy?
Yes.
So in regards to the topic earlier, there was the explanation that even after the grace period of March 22, that the delivery of work from home equipment is still allowed through accredited couriers. My question is, a lot of the companies are experiencing issues with now obtaining or have run out of supply of laptops. And the question is, has PEZA lessened the requirements, and do they allow the delivery of the desktops for work from home as well?
Okay, thank you, Sam. Attorney Lane or Princess, would you like to tackle that question of Sam?
Yes, Sam. So yes, desktops are also allowed, to be delivered via courier, similar to laptops. And if you have problems procuring locally, importations of those are also allowed. The customs has been releasing them. The only issue with customs is, they're operating on a skeletal workforce, and there's a delays in releasing. In addition, when we import laptops or other equipment, desktops, you also need a clearance from the National Telecommunications Commission. But the good news is, they're allowing a provisional release, and you don't need to get the NTC permit before releasing, and you can just submit it within 45 days of the importation. So I hope that helps.
It does, but just one clarifying remark would be, so that would be for importing or purchasing new. But what about deploying existing desktops that are already in our registered PEZA facility? Has that been allowed by PEZA now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think if you use accredited couriers, you can still do that. Assuming, of course, there's someone in the office to release those desktops. So that should be fine.
And Sam, just to dovetail on Princess' answer, PEZA does not really differentiate between laptop and desktop. For as long as you have mentioned that it is already part of your inventory submitted or registered with PEZA, then that is fine. Maybe the issue there would, I think that the issue that you would have to be mostly concerned about is whether or not your client allows desktop, because I'm not a tech savvy person, but I understand that there seems to be lesser security standards placed on desktop compared to laptop. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. I think, we should actually move on because there's still, a lot of questions and answers that, we have set aside for Sarah to handle. But at this point, I'd like to thank, our four panelists again, Nikki, Kenneth, Lean, and Princess for being with us this afternoon, and for your continuous efforts in providing answers and assistance to our members in the industry. Thank you so much again. And at this point, I'd like to pass on this program to this session to Sarah. Sarah, can you pick up for your Q&A section? Thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Raymond. All right. So I know that we had a couple of questions earlier about compensation. I think I'll start off with some of the ones that we had listed here specific to that. So I'll go with the first. What programs implemented by BPO to augment employees' earnings apart from skeletal staffing and work from home for its employees? So Attorney Kenneth Chua, would you have anything on that?
Yeah. Hi, Sarah. I think that's an operational question. I'll defer to the others who perhaps can share what they are doing within their companies.
Yeah, maybe Attorney
Hello.
Lin. Attorney Lin, would you like to pick up on that, or Attorney Princess?
Yes, Raymond. So the question is, what other financial assistance we are giving to the employees? Is that it?
Sarah?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So on top of our, just to share, so on top of our, regular sick leave, vacation leave, and emergency leaves, we are giving additional, paid time off in case the employee is a PUM or a PUI, paid leave. We're also covering the medical costs of all COVID-related illnesses for the employee and the immediate family who are his dependents. We are also giving we also relaxed our reimbursement rules for vitamins. No need for a prescription, and there's no amount limitation as long as it's reasonable. You will see the volume bought anyway, so that's a discretion. And we also offered some emergency loans, in case the medical HMO doesn't cover the full cost. So we opened the emergency loans aside from the ones that you can get from the SSS, Pag-ibig, and the other government agencies. I hope that gives you some idea. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I think there are a lot of different practices that the individual organizations are rolling out to help augment or to help get really creative with how to help their employees. So another one that is also related to compensation, and I guess if you can help us determine what specific guidelines there are, but it's related to hazard pay, and I'll direct this over to Attorney Princess or to Attorney Lean. But are companies required to provide hazard pay for those coming to the office?
Sarah, yeah, I'll take that. The DOLE labor advisories are consistent in saying that they are encouraging private sectors, especially the large establishments, to provide financial assistance to their employees, whether it's in the form of paying in full the 1 month salary for the entire duration of the quarantine, as well as especially for those who cooperated working on site. Some companies would provide hazard pays, whether in the form of daily per dime, on top of, there are companies who are really generous, who rolled out announcements for additional 1/2 month salary for the entire duration of the quarantine. So the point here is that it's really discretionary to the private establishments. And of course, bearing in mind that while the government has offers of helping as well the private sectors, then as large companies, we also have to give our share and take our place. So that's it.
Thank you. Do Attorney Kenneth or do you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, from a purely legal standpoint, there's no obligation to provide the hazard pay as mentioned by Lynn. So ultimately, I think it's up to the companies to extend support, whatever they can, so that the employees can be protected and feel appreciated for what they are doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we discussed DTI or PEZA earlier, and this is one of also the questions that came up on accommodations. So for hotels and accommodations, they've been declining to accept any of the bookings for critical resources. Is there any type of support that we can expect from DTI or PEZA? And I'll direct that to either to Nikki or to any of the attorneys.
Yeah, so Sarah, I'll take a stab at it. To date, well, there's no formal process, but we also will be sending a copy of AO B number 001B from DOT, Department of Tourism. So they shouldn't be. So they should be in skeletal force as well, workforce as well. If you get issues on hotels declining accommodations, please feel free to send those over. But just for clarity as well, we want to make sure that it's within the immediate vicinity of the workplace. No? So some hotels give us various reasons, but if you do encounter a similar situation, do let us know. So what we do is we send those over to a DTI/BOI chat line. And we do get feedback within 24 hours. So that's the current remedy that we can suggest at this point.
Thanks.
And I don't know. You're welcome.
All right. So does anybody else have anything to add to that for what Nikki's already laid out? But so you guys heard it, that if we run into any concerns, as we let the folks know. I know that some of the ones that we were also trying to book with, it was more of they lack the staff for their hotels, so that was one of the concerns also, but not necessarily turning us away. So the other one that I had here was what and I guess a little more forward looking is that what preventive steps should the BPO industry take to weather a crisis such as this in the future? So I'll direct that over to Attorney Princess. I know that she had a couple of thoughts on this from our Q&A.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sarah. So just, from our own experience, again, no one could have prepared for this. No one thought, this would happen. So we were all caught, unprepared. But I think the important thing is, we learn from the lessons, we learn from our mistakes, and, we learn the lessons moving forward, and take this, this crisis as an opportunity for us to strengthen our BCPs and, our crisis management teams for the future, to include, again, the lessons learned here. Part of those is making work from home enablement a part of that. It should be the standard from now on, I think, for all companies. it's not just a backup plan, but it should be the standard. For example, I know some companies, and including ourselves, we're increasing now our VPN certificates, to more than what is required, just in case, right? So we never know. Make sure also that you're, again, what was most important for us is strengthening our relationships, with the industry associations like HIMAP, IBPAP, and also the government, because it really helped us all, I think, during the crisis, that we had a preview of the policies that were coming out, and we could plan ahead and be one step ahead, of the government. We were surprised by the sudden pronouncements, at 12 midnight or 1 a.m. We had sort of a lead time, to plan ahead again. So I'll turn over to Attorney Lynn and Nikki, to share the lessons learned as well from the other companies.
From a contractual perspective, coming from this this frenzy moment, I think that the lesson for us is to also revisit our client contracts and make work from home arrangements and other flexible work arrangements a default alternative in times of pandemic or similar situations, because from what we've experienced, getting client approvals, added another layer of delay to all of this for us to enable work from home. So I guess after this all settles down, then we need to sit and revisit our client contracts and make work from home a default and automatic alternative. So that's it.
Yeah. Sarah, this is Nikki. I couldn't agree more. I think the only piece that I would add on to what Attorney Lynn shared is, so while it's always great or going to be beneficial to our end to revisit the contracts, I think the BCPs, or the business continuity plans that we that we outline, the tendency is that it's always good in paper. I think it helps that we also test it from time to time and always assuming the worst. I think we've been good at mapping out a BCP in paper that we present or show with our clients or share with our clients. I think ensuring that those toll gates and checkpoints are in place needs to be followed through. The second point I wanted to make, and just really reinforcing what Attorney Lynn mentioned, is on agility, our ability to push or leverage on technology and push more work from home options are two of the key lessons I think at this stage we've learned.
Thank you, Attorney, and thank you, Nikki. So just to follow up to that, right? And while the folks are actually going to look at revisiting their business continuity plans, do we know what the plans are with our telco providers or our internet providers to make, to strengthen their infrastructure, right? So while we look at the eligibility of our workforce to be able to work from home, there are a lot of hindrances when it comes to that, because of just internet availability to them or the type of internet that they have. So and right now some are talking about bandwidth issues. Has there been any other conversations, and there are a lot of folks here who have been pillars of the industry or legends of the industry who have these types of relationships, that may be able to speak to any plans our large telco providers have?
Sarah, I just noted that Celeste Ilagan is with us, so one of the pillars of the industry. She may want to provide some feedback, some input to that question. Celeste, are you with us?
Celeste?
Yes, I hear Raymond listening intently to the question and the
Okay.
answers.
Yeah,
So
Sarah referred
maybe
to
just
pillars of the industry.
I don't know. You're dating me, Raymond.
No, not. Okay. Nice for
Anyway,
you, of you to join us. Yeah, go ahead.
to the first question earlier that was posed to the panel, and this refers to the government's stimulus to businesses in this time of crisis. I read something that was attributed to Secretary Dominguez that at this time the priority is really help to employees, and therefore there is no proactive program that they are thinking of that will be for businesses. If at all, they are encouraging businesses to further help uh, in making sure that employment continues to be generated or at least retained. So I think in the short term, we won't hear anything about it. On the matter of the lessons learned, I agree with all of the comments of my colleagues in LegCom. Really, the lessons are great, and this will stay with us for the long term. Work from home has been encouraged for a long time, and employers have been pushing back, thinking that it will hurt productivity, it will not be good for the clients, not good for the business. And then suddenly we need to transition to that model. And all of our fears and the threats that we thought of before needed to be thrown out of the window because there's no other choice for us. And therefore, I think one of the lessons is that if there are more creative ways of doing what we're doing, we should be thinking about that. But I another important thing for us is when all of the technical side has been put in place, the machines have been moved to the places or residences of our employees. Productivity improvement now is the key. If it does not happen, we may be able to sustain the quality of our delivery, and in the end, maybe our industry suffers. So I think that's it for now, Raymond. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much, Celeste. Sarah, I also noticed, if I may, know that Michael Tulin is with us from the NICP. So you may, I know that you have a couple of questions for him. So we might want to get Michael Tulin to participate in the discussion. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, thank you. All right. So we also actually had a couple of ones that came into the chat, and of course Jeff Williams had sent something in, and this was interesting, right? So and Jeff, you could go through this if you want to, but I'll read it out for you. Some employees staying in temporary or near work housing are requesting to go to their homes over the weekend to deliver food and other essentials that and then return to their housing. Is this something that is restricted, or are there guidelines, or have there been folks that have had run into this situation? So in terms of restrictions, and I guess in interpreting the guidelines that we all have right now, for folks that we're housing temporarily, are they allowed to leave for the weekend, or is this something that's not allowed?
Sarah, this is Celeste. May I answer that referencing to a question I posed to Secretary Lopez of BPI and the response that we got. So what we would like to happen, which is ideal for the skeletal workforce, is that we proposed a rotation. So maybe 1 week for this batch and another week for the next batch. But when I posed that to Secretary Lopez, he said that they understand the situation. They understand the sentiments of the employees. They want to be with their families and all that. But the real intent of the skeletal workforce is for them to stay there for the duration because of limiting the movement of people. So that's the short answer, Sarah.
Thank you, Celeste. All right, Jeff, did you have a follow-up for that question in particular, or does that help answer it for you?
No, thanks, Sarah. You summed it up perfectly. One particular instance of one of the, a person who's elected to stay in the housing has left their mother at home alone, and they just need to go check on her and run, get groceries and those type of things. So it's a situation of, it's not just, hey, I just want to go home and visit my family. There's some care that needs to be done, right, or some responsibility. So, and I don't know, I don't know if we as an employer can tell you, no, you can't. I mean, because what right do we have to tell a person this to lockdown if they want to take that opportunity or that risk? I guess we can't, as a company, stop them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll take that question, Sarah, because we had a situation like that. So we can't stop the employee. If they want to leave, to go home, then there's nothing we can do. We cannot prevent them, but they cannot come back anymore to the office to work. That was the advice that we gave, because the condition was that they were in the temporary housing. They could go home if they have proof of residence, but they cannot come back to the office anymore. So we actually had a case like that. So they were allowed to pass through the checkpoints to go home. But again, so even if it is for a medical emergency, we cannot prevent them from leaving. And the best we can do is enable them to work from home. And if not, then they have to use their accrued leaves. And after that, then the no work, no pay principle applies, unfortunately.
But Princess, can they be replaced? Let's say that you lose from the skeletal force a couple of people. Can they be replaced by new ones?
I believe, again, Nikki and Celeste, feel free to chime in, but we cannot anymore, because again, the window for putting employees in the temporary housing or on site has passed, and we cannot transport employees anymore to the office.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank
I
you.
agree, Princess. Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Unless there are employees who are living in the immediate vicinity of the site who can walk to the office,
Yeah, minimal movement.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
All right, thank you. So I have one more question and before I turn it over to Bang, but I'll direct this over to Nikki. And Nikki, you've been working with so many organizations within the industry, but is there a forum where we have a best practice list for the BPO or BPM members?
Yeah, I know, very timely, Sarah, because we yesterday or the other day we hosted a very intimate roundtable. Again, virtual meeting, including the IBPAP board and several country heads. So there were a lot of key takeaways that we drew off of that meeting, and the goal is to continue to sound that off, not just internally, but of course leveraging on the subsector's experience. Excuse me. So we will be cascading whatever key learnings, key takeaways, best knowledge, best practices in one of our advisories, Sarah, which I know gets to your members as well, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, thanks, Nikki. So we'll be sure to share that with all our members. And that wraps up our Q&A for today. I'd like to pass it on over to Ben Carnell for the closing remarks. Go ahead, Ben.
Hi. Hi, Sarah. I think before we have the closing remarks of Beng, we would like to ask Don Feldbaum from American Chamber, as well as June Saha and Michael from the NICP, to share their insights with regards to the current situation, not only by the industry, but by the other regions.
Yeah, maybe we'll start off with Don. Yeah,
Yes.
thanks, Judy. Don?
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, guys. Just a couple anecdotal comments. We've been working very hard through the AmSham Healthcare Committee meeting, addressing the testing issues. The problem that has faced the country is that China and Korea have sent some thousands of test kits, but the problem is there's extraction kits that need to go with that, and they need to be matched up with the equipment that actually does the testing. And this is where the government, I think, has a challenge. We've brought in some experts to try to address that, and we're doing our best to get those test kits out so we can find out what is the breadth and depth of the virus spreading within the community. The second thing is I got an interesting a text message today saying the next 10 days is the most critical time for the virus when it hits its peak, or supposed to be hitting its peak. And so I think that's why the government and all comments that they're making is stay at home. Now's not the time to move people around, because as we hit this peak, we want to be safe, and we want to keep our families safe. We want to keep our employees safe. So that's the message that I'm getting today on the timing of this peak infection period. So those are a couple of things that I can share with you, one on the testing side, one on the period of the viral infection side. As we all know, it's a global concern. The U.S. is really struggling. You can see all the activities that are happening today on CNN, and so we're still all very concerned. And I'll do whatever I can to help you guys as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Yeah. I know we have Michael as well on the bridge, Michael Lim and June Sa. Maybe some words from you from Zamboanga, June from Cebu. How are things there? Yeah.
I'll let June. So June, are you online? If not, I guess I can start. I guess from the Zamboanga side, I'll speak in behalf of the Zamboanga ICT Council and NICP as a whole. I guess for the ones who don't know who NICP is, we are basically 81 ICT councils around the Philippines who work with LGU to kind of ensure that our city is prepared for an ICT ready industry, basically. This was not part of our roadmap, obviously, but in Zamboanga, for example, we now also have confirmed cases of COVID. So ECQ has been starting to be implemented in certain municipalities and barangay. And although we don't have a BPO industry in Zamboanga, we are a food making city. So 80 to 90% of sardines is made in Zamboanga, and we're taking a big hit because of that ECQ. Because although food production is allowed during ECQ, the movement of people is very restricted, and people tend to just give up. I don't know if it's similar to BPOs, but unlike BPOs, we don't have the capability to house these people near our factories because there is no infrastructure for that. So in terms of the countryside suffering a similar fate to Manila, I think we do suffer, but maybe in a different perspective, in a different frame. From the NICP portion, I did mention in the chat that we've been trying to work with DICT for a program, and I think Mambeng Coronel also is familiar with this, and I think she also has one herself. We wanted to help doctors avoid exposure and infection to COVID by enabling them to use an app so that they can start to see patients online. Although we've talked to some doctors, and although some doctors do say that they prefer a physical checkup, which would be better, but in order to screen some patients, the app will be helpful in saying that, okay, I think you should go see a doctor or a hospital, and that goes without having the need to expose themselves to the virus. I'm not sure if that's something that HIMAP would be interested in or has already been doing, but I'd like to get feedback from you.
Thank you, Michael, for your thoughts. I know we're on the tail end of the session. I was just in a chat with a few folks like Judy, and it seems like there's a lot of information. There's a lot we can do an exchange. We can have another session. Maybe we can learn more about it, Michael.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Just wanted to acknowledge also June Saa, and we also have Jonathan De Los Arriaga on the call. Just wanted to check and see from a provincial point of view, June, Jonathan, you have other thoughts, inputs from your end? I guess we're not hello? Yeah. Celeste, yeah.
Jonathan, we would like to hear from you.
I think he's not on. I can see his video.
Yeah, I think it's on mute.
Video is on, but not his audio. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, maybe Bang was supposed to close this session today, but unfortunately, we're running overtime as expected. We have a lot of questions that were covered today, but I just want to take the opportunity to close this. And first and foremost, thank you to each and every one of you for making time for our session today. We will have more of this, I would imagine. See how we can continue to update our members and all the others are in the call. We also acknowledge presence of our real estate vendors, Lee Chu, JLL. They're also with us on this call. So thank you very much for participating. There are a lot of questions. I'm sure it's a dynamic situation we're in. Not only is the government, but even private sector is also moving. I'm thankful we have the NICP with us to provide a provincial point of view, because as we have more test kits in the Philippines, I guess we'll see more and more cases of this. And as one colleague, Jeffrey Seitz, mentioned in a separate conversation we had yesterday, I think the problem sometimes is more than just having the kits around. It's having the labs to actually do the tests. And that seems to be a limiting factor. So I think on behalf of our members here at HIMAP, I'd like to thank our IBPAP leaders, Celeste, Nikki, our LegCom panelists who've been more than helpful. Jenny as well. Thank you, Jenny, for helping out. Jonathan for PSIA, Don, thank you, and for all our other members and colleagues. Just want to say thank you. Please keep safe. We will circulate the materials that we used today, including the answers and responses from our panelists, and share that with all of you. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to each and everyone. Keep safe as we go through this period. Thank you.